Howdy! This mini lecture will serve as a brief introduction to keystone species. Following this video and reading the section in Chapter 4 about keystone species, you will be prepared for the case study activity in Week 3. The student learning objectives of this mini lecture are distinguish characteristics of keystone species and evaluate the impact of an environmental system if a keystone species is removed. Here are 3 more pictures of sea otters. Did you know that otters will hold hands while they sleep, floating on their backs so they don't drift apart? Also, for similar reasons, a group of sea otters is called a raft. And I absolutely love these creatures. Just for this video, I'm wearing my sea otter conservation shirt that I got while I was vacationing in Seattle in the summer of 2015. Here you can see my sea otter shirt. While I was in Seattle, I got to see the sea otters close up. Sea otters are much larger than river otters, and sea otters don't really have functional back legs, which river otters do. Sea otters place rocks on their chests and crack mussels and clams open with them. This is one of the few examples of a tool used by an animal other than a primate. Many people are surprised to learn that these marine creatures are struggling to survive in some of the areas of Alaska. Here's the historic range of sea otters. Sea otters used to be found all along the Pacific Rim coastline, from northern Japan through the Kuril Islands in Russia, the Commander Islands, also in Russia, the Aleutian Islands, which were part of Alaska, and down the Alaskan, Canadian, and U.S. mainland coasts to the Baja Peninsula. Before the 1700s, native groups such as the Aleuts hunted these creatures sustainably. In the mid-1700s, Russians began hunting otters for their pelts, and by the late 1700s, the English and Americans had also entered this fur trade. By the mid-1700s, Russian hunters had coerced the Aleuts to exploit the sea otters for the fur trade. Sea otters were hunted nearly to extinction over the next 100 years. In fact, America purchased Alaska from the Russians in 1867, hoping to gain a greater share of the sea otter fur trade. What America did not realize was that Russia was willing to sell this territory because the otter population had already been reduced to a level where it was no longer economically productive to hunt them. Before the onset of hunting in the mid-1700s, the estimated number of sea otters worldwide was 300,000 individuals. By the end of the 19th century, the number of remaining sea otters had dropped to approximately 1,000 in Alaska and 20 in California. Hunting of these animals ended with the signing of the International Fur Treaty of 1911. The sea otters that remained in the 1900s were scattered amongst 13 different populations. Several of these populations died out, while those in Alaska flourished. The single population remaining in California has grown slowly, and its peak in 1995 consisted of 2,400 individuals. Presently, there are sea otter populations in the Kuril Islands, Commander Islands, Aleutian Islands, and small portions of the mainland coasts of Alaska and California. The total worldwide population of sea otters is currently estimated to be 150,000 individuals. So beyond breaking my heart, why would it matter if sea otters went extinct? Well, it's because sea otters are a keystone species. Keystone species are species which have a strong or wide-reaching impact on their environment, and their impact is far beyond the proportion to their abundance. Keystone species exert a great influence on the structure and composition of their ecosystem. Essentially, a small number of otters can have far-reaching effects on their ecosystem. Keystone species are named after the keystone of a structural arch, which is the wedge-shaped stone at the top of the arch that is essential for holding the entire structure together. Without the keystone, the arch or the ecosystem falls apart. Sea otters consume sea urchins. Sea urchins consume kelp, which is a type of seaweed found in coastal waters. If the sea otter population falls too low, then the sea urchins will overgraze the kelp forest, eliminating a vital source of food for a variety of organisms. Kelp forests also provide essential habitat for near-shore marine organisms. When sea otter populations are too low, the sea urchin population increases, and the sea urchins eat all the kelp, which destroys the habitat, eliminates a vital food source, and suppresses species diversity. Here is an image of a rich kelp forest. Here's another image which shows just the kelp. Here's an image of sea urchins with the kelp in the background. Finally, here's an image of sea urchins which have decimated the kelp forest aquatic ecosystem. Now that you've had this brief introduction, you should be ready to start the sea otter case study activity. Go to the Week 3 folder and read the Sea Otter Case Study Part 1 in the Think section. Follow the directions posted in Week 3 for how to complete this activity. Please note that you must complete the activity in order. If you do not do the quiz after the readings, you will not gain access to the next portion of the case study. Additionally, please see the Week 3 Interactive eCampus Lesson and Activities list for additional details regarding the assignments required for this week. Thanks and gig 'em.